regular curtains, what I'm going to be doing is making kind of a ratchet strap out of an inline bunny ear. So what that means is you're going to make one bunny loop on the line itself. You're going to attach one line of the cable just as you normally would with a fisherman's knot on one side, about 3/4 of the way down, probably more than maybe like 80% of the way down. You're going to make the bunny ear, the single bunny ear right here, and then you're going to loop it back through the other one, come back, send it through the bunny ear, and ratchet strap down with a slip knot to hold it all together. That sounds confusing, but I'll explain it as I go through it.
Alright, so what you're going to do here is you're going to measure the length of your cable and then give it a little bit of a dog leg, fold it in half, loop it around itself just like a regular knot, and then pull that loop through. And that's going to give you your bunny ear. The key is to make it tight, so you're going to pull it string to string away from itself, and then you're going to pull it loop to string away from itself, and then generally what I do is take like a needle nose plier and just give it a little extra oomph, and then test it, make sure it's nice and taut. And that should be about 75% of the way to your eye bolt. So then what you're going to do is measure the rest of the distance to the eye bolt, and then measure the distance back to the bunny ear, and then give yourself a little extra cable or string to tie it off. And you're going to remember you're going to be ratcheting that down. Fold it in half, cut it with a pair of scissors or a knife. I prefer scissors. Generally scissors do a little bit better job at keeping the fray down. And then you're going to take a lighter and you're going to melt. There's going to be two, if you're using 550 cord drawer, there's going to be two different cables. There's going to be the threading inside, which actually has most of the strength. And then there's going to be the black outer, or whatever color the outer fabric is, the threading. And then of course you're going to squeeze that together and crimp it with a wrench or pliers. And you've got a nice flat area. You're going to send that through the eye bolt, send it back through the bunny ear, and that's where you do your ratcheting. So the more you pull that back toward the eye bolt, the tighter it gets on the actual line itself. And the biggest benefit to this is actually being able to make a slip knot, so that when you do want to change your curtains, you can just pop that the loose end of the slip knot out and you're good.
Alright, so now that I've got the line that's nice and taut, what I can do is I can pull out the slip knot, nice and easy. Just take the loose thread, pull it out, the whole thing comes out. Alright, if you ever want to replace your curtains, or if they're damaged, or I don't know, for any reason at all, you want to hang something else on there, you can just pull the loose end of the slip knot, slide it into your new curtains, and you're good to go. Make sure when you put your curtains on, before you run your back line through the bunny ear, that you pull the curtain over the bunny ear so you don't overlap the actual, I don't even know what you call those, like that part in the curtain that wraps over the line, that part. When you're done, it should hold everything that you've got on the line. Just pull the curtain back over all that stuff and it's hidden. You don't even see a mess of line or anything. Et voila!
As for making the curtains themselves, I'm not going to regress back to my high school home economics classes and stitch these things together. Instead, I got several packages of heat and bond, which are much easier, and just laid them out as per the instructions. If you do it right, it should be just as good as a stitch. especially if your experience stitching things is at the level of mine. Well, I kind of followed the instructions. It actually calls for a pre-wash and a dry of all the materials that will be used. Yeah, that's not going to happen. I'm about as interested in watching 30 yards of fabric tumble around in a dryer as I am, well, watching 30 yards of fabric tumble around in a dryer. What I learned is that it calls for this step in the instructions, because if you don't, your fabric won't shrink. But there's an easy way around this. If you're not going to do this step, what you can do is iron the entire fabric, which will shrink it all uniformly, or you can just pre-iron around the area to which you're going to be applying the tape, which will shrink it for you and taper off the area below so that it skirts out somewhat. The benefit to this, of course, is that if you've painstakingly measured out and cut all your pieces, it won't shrink the entire area to a size that's now too small to fit your windows. And if the fabric is not pre-shrunk, it'll shrink quite a bit during this process. I lost at least an inch on each side of the fabric in just the few passes that I made over it with the iron. Set the iron to about half power and get to work. After you lay the sticky tape down, iron it, you can blow on it and cool it down just before you pull the tape off. And I found out that this is a good trick because if you let it cool down on its own, the tape will kind of stick a little bit to the sticky substance. So when you cool it down quickly just before you pull the tape off, it does a lot better at leaving that sticky part on the fabric just after it's been melted into place. To iron the heat and bond itself, what you're going to want to do is measure out a length of the tape just shy of the full length of the fabric, seeing as it's going to shrink a little bit if you don't wash it. If you did wash it and dry it, then just cut out the length as you normally would. Lay this out, but don't iron it yet. You're going to want to fold your fabric over to make sure that you've got a channel big enough to send the string through, or the cable. There are two options for getting the cable through the fabric and ready to mount on your windows. First, you can lay the cable inside the channel that you're going to be ironing. But this requires that you measure out the length of the cable that you're going to be tying into that ratchet style of knot that I mentioned before, which can be a little tricky. The second option is to just make the channel as you normally would, but then use a coat hanger, bend a loop at one end, and sending that through the channel when it's done. When you're about to hang your curtains, you send this rod through the channel, tie your string to the loop, and then pull it back through. Nice and easy. Once you're finished there, the rest is simply mounting your eye bolts where you want them, sending the curtains over the cables, and you're all set. Be sure to overlap areas where you'll want more privacy. In this case, I'm hanging privacy curtains that will separate my bedroom and bathroom from the rest of the cabin. So I'm overlapping the hall curtain over the wall next to the sink so that it will not only create a visual barrier that separates the shower from the kitchen, but also a physical barrier as well, that provides guests with an expectation of privacy when using it. I also created perpendicular curtains that both separate and partition the shower and toilet from each other. This is just an added notion of privacy.
Thanks for watching. I hope you liked it. If so, be sure to subscribe and give me a thumbs up. Construction on the tiny home is actually complete, so visit kyleodonnell.com/blog to binge watch the build. You'll not only read my personal journals during construction, you'll also see videos covering everything from solar installation and transforming bedrooms to wiring your electronics and off-grid plumbing.